Wes Buck Show.
It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The Wes Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. What's up? Good to have you. Thanks for joining us here around Drag Racing's water cooler so we can talk shop. I just fresh off an hour-long interview with the one and only Joe Costello over on WFO Radio. Huge shout out to Joe for having us and helping shine a light on the World Series of Pro Mod. We've got a whale of a show for you guys today. Here in a little bit, about a half hour, we'll be joined by FloRacing.com's Courtney Enders, and we'll follow that up with a few words from the man, the myth, the living legend, Tricky Rickie Smith. We're going to talk a little World Series of Pro Mod and his titanic matchup with Nitro racer extraordinaire, the one and only Scott Palmer, the people's champion himself. Thank you guys all for being a part of this. I want to say that right at the top of the show each and every week. We can't do this without you. It means the world to us. It's like oxygen to us. All your comments, the likes, the shares, the subscribes on YouTube. So please help us spread the message, spread the gospel of drag racing, and know that we really, truly appreciate your involvement in the show. If it weren't for all of y'all joining us to do this, I don't know that it'd be half as much fun. Who am I kidding? It's a blast talking drag racing. I'm lying to you, but it sure does make it a whole lot more fun when you all join us. So without any further ado, I'll introduce my cohorts here on the Drag Illustrated social media platforms, the one and only Mike Carpenter and my brother from another mother, JT Murder Tundra. What's up, dog? Somebody's already in the chat saying Rickie doesn't talk to fans. I've seen Rickie talks to everybody. Quit backing up, boy.
He's busy tuning that thing.
Yeah, man. Rickie's a one-man band. I think that, to kind of talk about Rickie a little bit here before we get into our interview with Rickie a little later in the show, don't you think that that's kind of the magic, you guys, of pro modified style drag racing? Just what you mentioned, Mike, racers that are doing it all themselves. And it's not always the case, and there are certainly exceptions to that, but this is real deal grassroots drag racing. You got a guy like Rickie Smith. He'll drive the truck, he'll tune the car, he'll rebuild the engine, he'll put up the awning, and he'll go double O on you in round one.
But that's a dying breed. We've talked about that. Rickie's one of the few that's how everybody did it back in the day. I mean, even you go back to Pro Stock as well. That's how it was done. That's what's changed there. Is what's changed in Pro Mod. But yeah, Rickie, if he's ever not friendly with the fans or someone gets that impression, it's the guy is as hardcore as they come when it comes to racing and winning. So
he feels like he's working.
He is, yeah. That's how he earns his living.
Weekends like that. Yeah, he's not necessarily there to put on a show. He's there to work, Yeah,
he's there to win. And I do think that that's part of the magic, to be honest, of pro modified style drag racing, because it really is the highest level of grassroots racing. And you have guys for sure like Rickie Smith, Todd Tutter, Stevie Jackson. There are a handful of them that earn their living going drag racing. But by and large, this is guys that are, like the ultimate weekend warriors. This is something that they pursue as a passion, as a hobby. So it's a really interesting group of people, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. We got Joe, WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah,
you just
man.
Came off there, man. That was a good hour-long World Series of Pro Mod promo. You cut a promo.
Oh, dude.
He did cut a promo.
He does a great job, and I appreciate him having me on. I've actually been itching to get on his show for a while because I don't know, to be totally honest, I was like, I want to have somebody interview me. I got a bunch of shit I want to say, and so
light work day. It's a light work for Joe. He just kind of hit record and just let you go.
That's Wes on. Let's him talk.
Yeah.
Wind me up, turn me loose, baby. Yeah, know, man. Right? I'm on cup number 6. Yeah, I'm on cup number 6 of coffee. So no, and I just spilt coffee all over my desk. So forgive me while I try to manage this disaster. But yeah, man, what do you guys got going on? Anything good? You guys have good weekends?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
JT's has good weekends every weekend until the Chiefs lose, which we'll see. We got 2 more to go.
Nothing
right?
Really changes. You just don't watch football.
2 more to go for T.
Yeah.
Well, I was worried about you though, JT. I mean, even after the Chiefs won, we didn't hear from you for like 2 days. I was worried what had happened, if you had like done something drastic after Mahomes twisted his ankle or what. Like, did you actually see that they still won the game? I was worried about you.
Yeah. I probably could have rewatched the end of it, just to see everything that happened. But
in single, not in double vision. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
we celebrated hard.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Where did you end up watching the game, JT? Take us through it. Like at your house, at the country
I went
club?
to Smitty's. I went down to
the local honky tonk. You got
my old bar that I built and my brother owns now, and went down there, and everybody came up, and we had a pretty good time. And then I don't know, we hit a few more bars before the night was over. I don't know. There was Taco Bell.
And then somebody was cutting
everywhere around the truck.
Somebody was cutting donuts in a Cadillac. I think I saw that.
Yep.
I'm always checking your social after that too. I'm like, all right, probably the way he's going to surface is some bananas video of them like jumping a golf cart off a cliff or doing donuts in a Cadillac. And that's what came through in the snow.
I had that conversation with my buddy Tim Morton Tugboat. This is one of like my oldest friends. We went to high school together. We were joking the other day that we did all the stuff that's happening on YouTube before it was fashionable. Like jumping like sending cars over motocross jumps, driving cars through town with helmets on, slamming into each other. I mean, we did all that stuff before it was fashionable.
We used to joke, and I even got on video a lot of it.
I've got quite a bit of video.
Yeah, because we used to have a video camera, and we were like,
was
doing
it shoulder mounted?
Yeah, it was. Camera? Yeah, actually.
This had been what, we were doing 70s, early 80s for you.
Yeah.
Tugboat and I had this little Corsica, and
we were doing it before Jackass was.
Yeah, before it was like a thing to raise hell.
Wood that would literally, like, you can kick him in the shins, you'll slide down the concrete, like you just can't be destroyed.
I remember Tim and I leaving Buck Brothers, my dad's repair shop, one time, and he was in his little Mercury, whatever, little 4-door sedan, and I was in my Chevy Corsica, and we literally put our helmets on. And I said, let's drive through town and do like driving demo derby, like just during the day. He's like, let's do it. Send it. Let's go. And we were like literally driving through town, slamming into each other, spinning each other out, grinding each other up into that, that concrete wall along Osteopathy Street in Kirksville. We got deep shit over that deal, actually, because it wasn't very hard to figure out whose white Corsica like needed a door and quarter panels and front fender.
Those are the
and
good
like
old
the
days,
white
man.
paint.
You could buy a piece of shit car for like $250.
And have so much fun.
Get 5 guys to chip in $50. License it.
This is some small town Midwest
shit. And then just go out and completely destroy it, jump it, run it through ditches. And then when it broke down, you just hook your log chain like through the windows. Around the cab, and just drag it. And then your friends that are back in it are freaking out. Yeah.
I mean, that was like a regular Saturday afternoon. Like, let's go buy a car from the salvage yard, like find something that we can get to run, a couple $100, and like go send it off a motocross.
Because there's nothing else out there. There's nothing else going on.
There's not much to do here. That's for sure. And that's why.
That doesn't happen around here, I can tell you.
This is some of the best memories of my life, to be honest.
I bet it happens around there.
I mean, that's why you guys are fish out of water.
Crowd.
That's why you guys are a fish out of water when you come back here to the Carolinas and end up in trouble.
No, whatever, man. We have a lot of fun. Yeah, we've carried it on for a long time. We have a big time no matter what we're doing. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. So I went to a wedding. It was a big
Wes flew to Missouri and didn't even come up back home.
That's what I was
doing. I was there for like 24 hours, not even. Flew up, went to a wedding, immediately flew right back home. So Alicia, my wife, was in the wedding, so I wanted to be there. And I had a big time, dude. We went out on the first night, and it was like a rough late night, man. Oh my goodness. And yeah, we're back. We're back in action. Back. Everybody survived. So I don't know. On to the next one, right?
Back to work on World Series of Pro Mod. So what's some new since last week? We've had some new developments, some class announcements. We got let's bring everybody up to speed on everything we announced for World Series of Pro Mod since last week's show.
Yeah, man. So the main announcement that we made Monday of this week was our partnership with FloRacing.com. Super excited about this. Perfect timing, actually, because Courtney Enders from FloRacing.com just joined us in the green room. But this has been a work in progress for quite a while, something that everybody's heavily invested in and needs and wants to have happen at a high level. So we've been working on this, ironing out details, and we were able to finally announce this partnership with FloRacing on Monday. I don't know that we could be any more excited about it. And their level of excitement and enthusiasm is really important to me, to have willing partners, to have eager, excitable partners. And FloRacing literally fits the bill, man. They tick every one of those boxes. I think that they use this phrase in some of their, and I don't know if this is a message that's kind of sent from the top down, but they've done a fantastic job of really empowering promoters. Like, I had a guy tell me one time the most important, and this isn't going to be like music to everyone's ears, but I do think it's true. Mike, you and I have had this conversation, and I think you may know where I'm going with this. The most important thing in drag racing is successful promoters, because we have to have these events being successful, making money, being viable over the long term. Because I think a lot of the great things that have happened in the sport of drag racing have been like largely philanthropic. Right? Yeah. You have somebody that's got a ton of money and they're all excited and they show up in the sport.
Yeah, right. Can you spell that?
Yeah, I can.
So
I can even
pronounce it.
F-I-L. No, I'm just kidding.
What I mean, JT, is it's like a charity operation. It's some well-to-do mega business owner. I mean, how many times have we seen it in the NHRA Pro Mod? Yeah, I mean, look in Pro Mod. Multiple times we've seen these overseas teams show up, right? Spend all this money, but then the new wears off and they're on to the next thing, right? Or you have some big money sponsor show up. I think about ProCare RX. You remember that? Right? They came in and they were going to reinvent Pro Mod drag racing, and they were going to have a TV show, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And oh my God, Pro Mod's going to be a pro category. Everybody's excited. 2, 3, 4 years later, like I said, the shine has kind of started to dull. He's on to the next thing, and they're back at zero. Now what do we
rinse
do?
And repeat.
Oh my God!
And now we got to look for another one, another person that wants has the resources and wants to dump them into that with no promise of any ROI or anything like that. And I think Flo, that's actually a good point that you make about that. I think that statement was in our press release, and I almost think that dates back to when we had our events, the World Door Slammer Nationals. I think that they kind of had the same outlook then, and have been trying to get that message across that when you buy a Flo subscription, you're not just giving Flo money. That money goes back into the sport that you love and are supporting. So I think that's an important message, and I'm glad to see them kind of use that consistently in their press releases and everything they do.
I think it's super important, and that's, I think about the guys like Jason Miller that put on the World Cup import versus domestic finals, the World Cup finals up at Maryland International Raceway. I think about the PDRA and Raleigh Miller and Steve Wolcott at NMCA, and Donald Long comes to mind. Monty Miko with the YellowBullet.com Nationals, Mel Roth, Larry Jeffers in the IHRA now, all these different. It's important that they're successful. And I know that nobody wants to pay an entry fee, and I totally understand that. And the yin has to match the yang. Totally get it. But these tracks, if we don't want them to close down, we need to make sure they're successful. We need to make sure that the promoters that go to those tracks are successful, so they can reinvest, so they can fight the good fight and keep our sport protected and here for the long haul. And that's something that I think Flo really recognizes, is they have to empower these promoters and put money back in the promoter's pocket so that they can grow these events, add more classes, pay out more money, whatever the case may be. And I just appreciate having a partner that is as invested in our success as we are.
Yep. And fighting the good fight, Victor, Garrett Mitchell down there at Bradenton and at Freedom Factory. Did you see this whole deal? The next step of this whole development thing that they're proposing, that's going to basically surround those two tracks. The motorsports community showed out and showed up in spades. Supposedly we crashed their email server on the day of this hearing or whatever for the zoning. And I think based mainly due to the overwhelming response, the developers went back, and now they've come up with this whole thing where the homes that are closest to the track are going to be a race village and marketed toward people that are willing and excited about living near a racetrack and have an oversized garage or motorsports enthusiasts, which to me, I mean, I know that doesn't solve everything, and I don't think that is the end of the story when it comes to this deal, but that's a really interesting development. And the fact that the racing community was sort of able to impress that upon these people and actually get a change made before this thing's developed. I don't think I've ever seen that or heard of that. What's your thought on that, Wes?
I don't know that it's I think it's a much better than the alternative. I mean, is it the fix all? I'm not sure, but man, is it a step in the right direction? And it goes back to, that was a Vic Alvarez, Garrett Mitchell, aka Cletus McFarland, and the gang at the Freedom Factory. They're successful, and therefore they're resourced, and they were able to, create the buzz and build the social media following and do all the things that they need to do.
Of everybody moving in the same direction.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And not just the drag racers, but you got Garrett Mitchell who a lot of young kids look up to. YouTube channel is I don't know how many subscribers he has, but it brings in different types in motorsports, not just in drag racing.
He made a great presentation at that deal too. I don't know if you watched any of the video. Some of this, he did an excellent job. Had some great points. And I mean, it takes all of that too. I'm sure
everybody working together. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd have rather been doing something else that day, but he was showing up to defend his track, and man, it seems like they're getting somewhere. So interesting to follow and see where that goes.
I'm excited to see where it leads, and I'm just glad to see people willing to step up and fight back and preserve our sport. I mean, there are moments that I'm going, hey, we got to be taking action here, right? We got to be loud and proud. We got to stick our chests out. We got to send the emails. We got to show up on doorsteps. I mean, it's a really, really, really important thing. And anyways, to circle back around, having really great partners is probably the most important thing when it comes to putting on one of these events. And FloRacing has stepped up in a big way. We're very excited about this relationship and kind of where it leads. We feel, and we'll get some insight from Courtney here in a few moments, but I think that we're going to see kind of the best version of Flo. I think we're going to see FloRacing do something and surprise people. I think it's going to be an interesting deal, and I'm very excited about it. Before we bring on Courtney Enders from FloRacing, I do want to remind you guys that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. Tell Mark and the gang that we sent you. Guys, Courtney's become a little bit of a recurring guest here, and now she's doing all the shows. Yeah, right. We're gonna have to send her an exclusivity contract or something. She was on. I was watching. I didn't get to catch it live, but I watched great episode of the Shake and Bake podcast with Stevie Fast Jackson and Lyle Barnett. Courtney kind of stole the show on that deal last night. I caught up with it this morning. Had a lot of really positive words about the World Series of Pro Mod. Let's bring her on, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only. Oh, she disappeared. She vanished. Oh,
of course she did. Yeah,
of course she did.
Gotta be difficult, don't you, Courtney?
You know how this goes.
Yes. Well, they're building a house next door to me, and I saw somebody pull up, and I knew Jackson would be loud. So here we go. Okay. Well, hi guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for glad you made some time for us in your busy live show and podcast schedule.
Listen, I was joking with some of my work friends this morning. I said, these podcasts are like becoming my job, and I love it, but like I still have a job. I still have a job.
I know. Yeah. It takes up a lot of time getting ready for
it. Does. It really does. I love it. I love it. And you guys have kind of started that, Wes. You were one of the first ones, you and Joe Costello, to trust me and come on and talk about stuff that I pretend to know about. So thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And
Joe had us on one time, didn't he, Courtney, when during COVID, after we'd done like a happy hour with the Carusos, and we jump on there and we were all pretty tanked.
Joe had me on one time and haven't been invited back. Yeah. Hey, Joe, holler at me.
You're too calm. You got to be like me and JT. That's the thing.
Yeah. I don't think he knew what the hell to think about
this stuff. Is important, and I don't know how we stay on topic here because I'm gonna bounce around a little bit. But I actually sent Stevie Fast Jackson, for those that don't know, and Lyle Barnett have launched their own podcast. I think they've put out 2 episodes so far. Their plan at the moment is to do like an every other week type of format, which I think is fantastic. It's manageable, right, time-wise, because I can speak from experience that doing this every Wednesday without fail live can be a bit of a grind. It's a big undertaking. But I sent Stevie and Lyle a message this morning and thanked them, because our sport needs as much of this type of content as we can get our hands on. That's where stick and ball sports, we've been talking football a little bit here this afternoon, that's where they kick our ass so badly, is they've got all these talking heads and all this shoulder programming because, again, it's easy to be excited Friday at the racetrack when cars are doing burnouts and things are happening. It's easy to be excited on Saturday and Sunday, especially Saturday night during eliminations or Sunday during eliminations. There's all this stuff happening, but maintaining that enthusiasm and keeping people interested through the week is so hard to do, but so important. So, I'm glad. I know it can be a task, and you've got a bunch of them that you do at this point, Courtney, but it's important. We're doing the Lord's work. I mean, we need as many people talking about the sport of drag racing as humanly possible. I wish we were the only podcast, right? But not really. You know what I mean? Not really. I want there to be a bunch of them. I want there to be more voices than ours. It's important. So I try to support anybody that throws their hat into the ring when it comes to creating this type of content, and the more the merrier. I think it's a very big part of all the success of all the other sports.
It is, and consistency is the hardest part of it, I think.
Oh yes, most definitely. Especially when we on the Flow side, we're trying to create a show for drag racing enthusiasts. Also, obviously, we syndicate your show, but trying to make our own in that sense too, and finding a consistent day, even if it was once a month, that somebody already doesn't have one, or that we're not all traveling, has been the most difficult part. My guys at the production deal can do Thursdays, and I'm like, well, every other Thursday I'm on an airplane. So I don't think people understand how much legwork pre and post show that this stuff takes, not only the chunk of day it takes to do it. So kudos to everybody making their space.
287 episodes in, guys.
Wild.
Like a round of applause. I mean, and it's
probably more than that, actually.
It is, because we only started counting a couple of years ago, and there were many, many moons where we spent, taping an iPhone to a box of magazines and going live. I mean, it's a really important thing for the sport. I'm glad I saw that actually announcement. Courtney and the team at Flow are going to do Right Off Track, a new podcast hosted by Courtney Enders. I think it's going to be fantastic. And again, we need all of it we can get, because
I think there's a guy in the comments here, the Street Outlaws stat guy, and I noticed the other night he has one. I tuned in for a little bit.
I saw another podcast coming out for like the drag and drive community, and that's what it's going to take. I mean, it's to do what we need to do and match the energy that exists. We got to, in stick and ball sports, we got to match the effort, right? I mean, because they're beating us with their effort, and obviously there's big dollars there, and I'm being a touch unrealistic comparing drag racing to like NFL or NBA, but we got to, shoot for the moon and hope to land on a star, right? If we measure ourselves against the NBA and Formula One and all those things, we may never attain that, but we might get close. Halfway there is better than where we're at. So
not to be cheesy here, but we do have, I'm corporate Courtney now, right? So we have this saying here at Flow that one of our main goals on the content team is to create tribes. And, that's not only within what we're doing, but with the community. And so it's like, last night we even talked about it on Stevie and Lyle's show. It's like when you have a live show and people can comment and we can conversate with them, it's not just like you're watching the news or seeing who won or, getting even the driver interviews or that. People are really feeling like they're building a tribe within drag racing. And in the last, really since COVID, I feel like that's only begun here. And we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion.
Agreed. And it's the tools that are available to us at this point in time are ridiculous. That's true. The technology.
Look at us.
There's no excuse. At this point
we're all spread out. We're all in the same podcast together or whatever. It's nuts if you think back 10 years ago and trying to do something
doing
like this.
10 years ago would have taken each of us on like a $500 a month internet connection, right? We would have each had to have our own really good digital DSLR camera or high-end video camera. We'd have had to have some sort of capture card to capture that video signal, right? And feed it into our laptop. We'd have to have some sort of, most of the technology that existed for this type of shit stemmed from church services. That was, that was where a lot of this stuff came from, because a lot of those church services, they've got screens everywhere, right? They've got people watching from home that can't make it to the service. They were a lot of the originators of this type of software. And
hallelujah,
man. It's crazy to think how far this stuff has come. And I don't know, kudos to Stevie and Lyle, but they are going to find themselves challenged to do it every other week.
Yep.
And I'm glad that they set an attainable goal. But JT said it a minute ago, the challenge is in the consistency, and you have to do it. And I preach to people all the time. I see someone in here saying, Victoria Beener saying that she's getting ready to start her own podcast. If I have any advice to give you, it's treat every episode like the world's watching. Even if one person is watching, treat it like there's a million people watching. Give it the effort and the energy and the enthusiasm it deserves, and eventually it'll happen, right? 1 will turn into 5, 5 will turn into 10, and so on and so forth. And you just have to commit to it. And that's where people give up. You put out, I thought that was a pretty funny quote too. But a lot of people, they'll do like 3 episodes, right? And the numbers aren't really trending the right direction. And it's, screw it, right? Bad attitude, right? You just have to keep on churning it out. I told Mike, what were we talking about with social media? Somebody told me that they'd been promoting their race on social. And I was like, oh yeah, like, so what kind of content are you guys putting out? And they're like, well, I've made like 3 or 4 posts. I'm like, bro, I've made 300 or 400 posts this month.
I was going to say 3 or 4 an hour.
Yeah, some of them get 1 like.
You can't have enough content. That's what we said. You cannot have enough content. You cannot post enough. I think most people are afraid or think they've got the algorithm figured out. I could post once today or once a day at this time. This is when everyone's on. No, you just got to really hammer the thing as much as you can. And if you're starting your podcast, at least for the first few episodes, do not go back and listen to it. Do not go back and watch yourself because you'll scare yourself off from doing it. You'll criticize yourself. And if you can kind of get rolling and get comfortable with it, that's going to allow you to keep doing it.
Let the bloopers and the, when you trip over words or anything like that, let it go, man. People are human. They relate to that.
It's personable.
Yeah, look
it's
at
just
us
like you're talking to them at the bar or talking to them at the grocery store or whatever. Well, I don't know.
Bar, grocery store.
Bar, grocery store. Same thing, right?
No, you're right there, Mike. I almost scared myself out of even being a pit reporter, which this Flow deal would have never happened because that first race that I did where they obviously were scraping the bottom of the barrel to call me and ask, I was freaked out. And then I watched a few interviews and I was mortified. I wanted to somehow hack into FloRacing and like delete the entire race because we watch ourselves in that sense. And Amanda Busick and some other people gave me some really good advice of like, let yourself feel comfortable before you actually start critiquing yourself. And that was the best advice. I don't even think I watched a single interview from the first 2 or 3 races that I did.
Yeah, I hate to admit it. I still don't watch the show.
Yeah,
I don't really engage
I roll
with
past
any of it.
If it's on like Flow or if it's on like during the cool down or something, I'm like, oh, turn this off. I'm not listening to this.
Because if you don't re-listen to it, no one else heard it. That's what I tell myself.
That's right.
Right.
If I see it pop up.
Victoria makes another, I think, interesting comment here. Someone has to talk about juniors. We are drag racers too. I agree. But the coolest part about you launching a junior drag racing podcast is that you clearly really care about that type of racing. And that's what's important, being authentic, right? You got to care about what you're talking about. And that's why I think a lot of the podcast and a lot of this content that really pops off, it speaks to a small niche, right? A small group of people, a tribe, as Courtney called it earlier. That's important. Develop your tribe, get people that care about things, don't go after the masses. The masses will come later. Go after the group that kind of rallies around what you're talking about. And here on the Wes Buck Show, Drag Illustrated's podcast for all these years, I mean, it's almost always been door slammer drag racing, right? Pro mod, pro stock, top sportsman, this stock, big dog, radial racing, because that's what we know the most about, right? The path of least resistance. And it's what we're the most passionate about. And that doesn't mean we don't love all types of drag racing, but you do. You kind of go with what you know. So lean into it, as Mike would say, or I say. I think both of us say that phrase all the time.
It's at the top of the key catchphrase list.
Yeah,
and there's different ways of doing it now. I mean, like if you tune into ESPN or NFL Network or any of these shows right now, I mean, a lot of these shows, they just make statements just to get you riled up, and and just so it's quoted, on social media, so that people can say, "Well, that's ridiculous. Why would he ever say that?" Or like take Patrick Mahomes, take him out of the top 10 quarterbacks. Well, they're only doing that, to get your reaction.
Blah, blah, Chiefs. We hear you. We know. I'm just kidding.
Just using that excuse. We can talk about your Steelers, but they've been home for 2 weeks. So
no one asked. I do want to go back to Victoria real quick. Victoria, like that, I've talked to people at NHRA about this. I've talked to some of the pro drivers, like when the junior crowd comes up and I remember as a kid, like we would have Tony Schumacher and Shelly Anderson come stage us for these exhibition deals. And we're trying to, within the NHRA, they're getting with the teams and trying to make this more of a full involvement type of deal. And so I think that you're hitting on a niche that is about to burst. And if you need anything, I don't know much about junior drag racing, but if you need anything or want any kind of anything for that, please, I am 100% in on the junior program, because if you look at all the people doing things in our sport right now, it is wildly under talked about how many of them ran the whole program through juniors. So holler at your girl.
I think that's one of the storylines that, to your point, doesn't get talked about enough. How many of our current world champions, how many of our current like promising talents and promising rookies got their start in juniors, right? I mean, it is a very, very incredible thing. And I can't believe the NHRA doesn't talk more about it, to be honest, because it's like, dude, your farm league works. Like, yeah, it works. Get excited about it. Talk more about it. Find ways to incorporate them, or find ways to pour the coals to that, because man, it clearly works, right?
Not even as drivers. Like, you go up in the media room, you go to people working for teams, crew guys. Like, if they really did a whole deal, and maybe I totally sideboard you here, but if you really kind of took an assessment of how many people in the community came from that, I bet it's out of control.
It's almost surprising when they run through the list of champions or anyone that's having success in the pro ranks if that person didn't compete in junior dragster. I mean, it's almost gotten to that point now, because I think we're seeing like the first wave or maybe second wave of like graduates from those early days of junior dragster that are in the pros now. So you're kind of seeing it pay off. And I think that's like a forgotten aspect of what it was intended to do. I think we've gotten into, how crazy junior dragster racing is, but it was supposed to be like drag racing's answer to karting and things that get people started on the circle track path. Because I mean, pretty much any NASCAR driver now, if they haven't been driving a go-kart since they were 5, they're behind the curve. So that's what it was intended to do. And I actually remember those days. I'm dating myself now, but I remember the days like that was NHRA sales pitch, and it's kind of gotten away from that.
Is there a podcast that you guys would be like particularly interested, like a person or a subject that you guys would be particularly interested to hear or would love to see somebody do? Like what we're seeing with Stevie and Lyle. Like that's a really cool door slammer tandem, right? 2 guys that are well known for being outspoken personalities, great drivers, accomplished. Are there any other people that you'd like to see throw their hat into the podcast ring, or a specific subject matter?
Ooh, unprepared question.
I've always wanted to do in the pits. Like I've done it a couple of times just with some videos and stuff, but like just go hang out, have some drinks afterwards with guys in their pits and
playing cornhole.
Yeah, but get the rest of the characters and just see them in, like when they're not just, what we see a lot of times in hotel lobby bars and whatnot.
Do not put a camera in there.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
The personalities that we see is completely different than at the track.
JT, we should start a podcast. We've talked about this. Let's do it. Drag Illustrated After Hours, the podcast. I think that would be cool.
From the embassy bar.
but do it, in as many episodes as a guy could do, or commit to it. Get a sponsor and say, hey, we're going to do 8 episodes of these. We're going to do 1 at the Gator Nationals, 1 at World Series, 1 at Indy, and because that's actually a great idea. One I think would be cool to see is a promoter. I tried to do this a couple of years ago, but man, interview Bill Bader Jr., right? And just ask for tips and tricks. What do you do? How do you distribute tickets? Do you buy radio advertising? Do you buy billboards? How much do you spend on TV advertising? Get Donald Long on there to talk about his promotional strategy. Sporty Bandemir.
You wanted to have like a drag racing conference at one time, remember? And you could
like a summit.
Yeah, you could almost do that summit. Yeah, you could almost do it, off of this anymore. Have a lot of pre-recorded stuff that you could go to.
Let me tell you, Wes, for what you just said, and I hope I'm not outing him here, but that's okay. Jason Logan has for years, and if y'all watching don't know Jason Logan, he's the crazy guy who runs the DJ booth at the racetrack, shoots the T-shirt cannon. Yes, he's been wanting to do something like that to where, we've talked about it a million times of, can I set it up in your pit and just kind of get to the crew, get to the personalities and the fun part of that. And so I think that would be a great counterpart to that. And he is, as everybody knows, absolutely hilarious and knows us all on a level that is a bit different. So sorry, Jason, I outed your idea.
No, I think that I'm like a self-help junkie. I've read every book on personal development and business management and marketing. And I just like that shit, to be honest, for whatever reason. Most of it is like regurgitated from books that are 30 years old, but it's nice to have a refresher. And I do think that there are a lot of people that are coming into our space that need some guidance. Like, I know what it's like to put on a race and not know where to start. Right. I mean, I've been there before, and to know the action plan, to know the promotional strategy, to know the social media strategy, to know the ticket sales strategy, all these different things. I think that'd be pretty valuable to folks. And I would love to see the Sean Langdon, J.R. Todd podcast. I would love to see that come back. They did a great job of kind of letting people peek behind the veil. And they said what they thought about things. I think they caught some
very
flack.
much. They were on the early end of it, though. I think what Stevie and Lyle are doing is very similar to that, and not to take away from it, but they're real. Stevie and Lyle are two characters that are the same as Sean and JR, where if you don't want to know what they think, don't ask them, kind of thing,
And I think that would be well received. I think Clay Millican is doing a great job with his behind the scenes videos, and he does a podcast in the off season. Typically, I don't know if he's been doing that as consistently this year.
Clay sent me a text the other day, and I'm not going to go through his numbers, but his numbers on his videos for 2022 are like incredibly impressive. But his main takeaway was that people are watching drag racing. That's what he put along with it, is that, just check out my numbers from my videos I'm doing. And it kind of shows you that people are watching it. It's not just like we say, watching the NHRA broadcast or the actual races. They're clamoring for this kind of content.
Clay's consistent, drives people back. What we talked about earlier. Clay's really consistent, and he's got that camera out a lot.
All the time.
Like hell, he walked into our podcast and had it on. Remember?
Yeah. This is what he said right here. He said
at the. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, he said you can't base everything off the TV numbers. People are grabbing drag racing in other places.
Yeah,
I think that's true, man.
Yep.
I really
we had someone ask about what platform, and man, your guess is as good as ours. I mean, if you're on a business page, Facebook really cuts you off at the knees. I mean, they just do. And so
I think we're going to see, man, I got it, not to go on a tirade, but I think we're about to see like a sizable shift in the significance of social media. Like, I think, I really do. I think that it was like such a hot commodity and everybody was excited about it. But I think it got so big so fast that now there's like a certain amount of burnout. I can't count the number of people who have told me that they have deleted the Facebook app off their phone, and now they only look at it. They recognize how much of a time suck it was. And I think also this Elon Musk deal and Twitter, it's just kind of airing out a lot of dirty laundry, how much of this shit's fake, how many fake accounts there are. And I just, and this is honestly, I go back to this, man. I remember, I can't count how many Drag Illustrated advertisers called me up and like, hey, we're pulling all of our print advertising budget and we're going all in on social media. And I'm like, bro, good luck, and I hope it works out.
Well, at that time, the floodgates were open. Yeah. And they
were doing that afterwards, even those too, Mike, but they thought, but they didn't understand that if they posted something on their page and say, you three followed me, you three may not even see it, and they didn't understand that. They didn't understand, why did that post only get one like? I've got 5,000 followers,
and there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It seems, and Facebook is hard to deal with. We were just talking about this, and we'll probably see our Facebook numbers just drop off a cliff as we continue to talk about this.
They can't drop off any more than what they've already.
But YouTube, screw them. If you're asking about platforms for podcasts, obviously your audio only format, that pretty much needs to go everywhere. But YouTube, I think, is sort of establishing itself as the go-to format for this type of stuff. And Facebook, I think, has kind of always played catch up on that. But Facebook is tries to do everything, tries to be everything to everyone, and there's a lot going on there, and it's hard to break through. I think YouTube, you reach more directly with your audience.
Dude, now with these YouTube shorts too, call me late to the party, but I'm just now kind of getting my feet wet with all that stuff under Flow. But like the YouTube shorts,
shorts or cargo shorts, yeah, Daisy Dukes,
yeah,
man.
No, but it's allowing, it's taking that space to where YouTube was only a certain type of video. Now it's like you're posting your reels in there, and I agree with that. I think YouTube is.
Keep it reels.
If I could do it all over again, the issue that we have here at Drag Illustrated, that we've trained a large percentage of our audience, or a considerable percentage of our audience, to consume this content on Facebook. And if I was able to go back, I think what we probably should have done, and may ultimately do, is pick that platform, right? YouTube it is, and that's what Lyle and Stevie are doing. And what I think, to your point a minute ago, Mike, Facebook does try to be everything to everybody. And I think YouTube is positioning themselves as the go-to platform for a video podcast. I mean, Joe Rogan and all the big podcasts, Impulsive with Logan Paul, all these huge podcasts live on YouTube, and then they use these other social platforms to drive people back to it. And I think that's the ideal scenario. What we're up against is we're trying to slowly convert our 500,000 Facebook followers to YouTube subscribers. And we recognize that that's going to be a process. For us, it's because our podcast is live. Facebook was one of the first platforms to allow live streaming via a mobile device, right? So we kind of went where it was going to be easiest to execute, right? And that was Facebook at the time.
Remember Periscope? Remember when you could only go live on Periscope?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really was the first live video.
It was. I remember doing that in Brainerd. Like the first time in Brainerd I did it, I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, Vine was a good one too. It wasn't a live video deal, but I felt like that was kind of the precursor to a lot of this, like TikTok, really. And then it was. So we're gonna mention every social media platform on this deal right here and see which one's.
I'm a big fan of Facebook. I mean, and that's the thing is we recognize, and it's also knowing your audience, right? Like we recognize that our demographic, for better or for worse, is on Facebook. And Facebook is still the biggest social media platform. 2 billion active users. Like, it's bananas what happens on Facebook. There was a time that I thought it would like replace our driver's license. Like, it's become so prevalent, right?
It kind of has. You can log in. You can log into the DMV with your Facebook freaking app, man.
It's bananas.
But taking that away. They're actually taking that away from a lot of stuff. Like, you're not allowed, because I think of like Facebook security is not good enough or whatever. They're taking that away. They've had too much problem with it. So that's going by the wayside.
Okay, I take that back then.
but it's true. I just find it very interesting and a fun conversation to have. But I think it's going to be, that's why the Drag Illustrateds, the FloRacings are just going to become more and more valuable, because it's real. The numbers aren't inflated. The numbers aren't, we know how many magazines we put in how many mailboxes. I love to have that conversation with people. We know how many people open our emails, right? Yeah. We know exactly, not bots, not scrolling past it and spending 2 seconds so it counts as a view. We know how many people consume this content, and I think it's really valuable, in my opinion. What is it?
Courtney is sexier than socks on a rooster. In a rooster.
That socks in a rooster.
I feel like that's not sexy.
There's a lot going on right there.
We have way more magazine subscribers.
It'll do.
Yeah. Over double. Yeah.
Really making an impact here.
Let's talk FloRacing and World Series of Pro Mod.
Yes.
Listen, you said it.
That's what Courtney came on here to do, right? We got to get that out of the way.
You didn't want me to just come hang out?
No. We got okay. Here.
I know people say things like this when they're promoting stuff, but Wes, JT, Mike, you guys know, I was so happy and so relieved whenever we were able to spread the word of this. It was like I was having to bite my tongue and I wanted to just gnaw out of my chair whenever we were at the World Series of Pro Mod press conference and we couldn't talk about it yet because things were still getting ironed out. And so I am just legitimately, authentically so very excited that we could be a part of this, because in my opinion, this is going to be the coolest race that we do on a level of our stuff, but just period. So I'm very excited.
Hey, I want to echo that sentiment.
We are as well.
I'm excited to work with you guys, and Flo, to us, it was a no-brainer, right? You were our choice. It's, the FloRacing group, Kendra, yourself, Kelsey Cartuccio, Mike Levy, everybody that we've encountered, our kind of people that we want to work with. So it feels like a match made in heaven. But I'm curious, as someone who talks to a lot of different people in the drag racing community from a lot of different walks of the racing life. You've got a big NHRA fan base. You've got friends in PRA across the board. What kind of buzz are you seeing? Because I'm biased, right? And I'm going, this deal is going to be enormous. Like but are you hearing it from other people? Do you feel like the hype is real?
Absolutely. I mean, I also come from like a door slammer window of our sport. So I think that's part of it. But what you guys do to hype up this event is really key there. Not only the invite only, there's so many pieces of the puzzle to what you're doing right to create that. But I mean, I have probably 8 races before we come to Bradenton to stream you guys. And I mean, this is all we're really talking about. We're having weekly meetings on this stuff. Now, internally, we're taking care of all of our other partners and stuff. But when it comes to fans and corresponding on social media and the need and the want for people asking questions, do you have information on this? Putting out ads, those quote placards, all the things that you're doing is creating this hype. And it's not falsely created, because like, look at the entry list, look at all the people that are coming out to do something different than they normally do. And it's getting people talking, like last night on Shake and Bake Show, we had a discussion of the 8th mile, quarter mile. So it's not just a race, and the news isn't just going to be what happens at this race. There's so much around it and leading up to it that it's almost like this weird culture right now. And maybe we're just stuck in the off season and we're all really excited for something new, but the evolution from World Series of Pro Mod when it was at Denver, and then the Door Slammer Nationals and all of that, and then COVID and all the things, I think everything had to happen the way that it happened for this to formulate to what it is. And I think it's come to perfection, and I'm so excited.
It's good to hear from somebody that's like not on our team. You know what I mean? Because
I'm always
there are
on your
times
team.
we get on conference. Yeah, you're on our team. Yeah, but like whenever we have our conference calls, I'm like, you guys all feeling good? Like, yeah, I talked to so-and-so and they're blah, blah, blah. And I can't, sometimes I'm going, all right, maybe I'm in an echo chamber. Everybody's telling me what I want to hear.
No.
I wanted to.
Dude, I had people hit me up to get invited, and I don't even work for Drag Illustrated. They're like, what do I got to do to get invited? And I love the hype, and I sent all of them to you guys, right? I'm like your outside correspondent or something.
Somebody was bagging on me during Joe Costello's show because so-and-so's invite must have got lost. And, we can't, it's tough. I hate it because, again, I'm a people pleaser by nature. I want to get along with everybody. I'm not a super confrontational person.
But it's exclusive, and that's the point.
It's exclusive, and I think that is lost on folks. I see some of these races where it's like, I see promoters trying to encourage people to participate. Hey, we need a handful more tech cards, and then we can do this. No, go out and pick your people that you want, and then you'll have people lined up. You know what I mean? Yep. As soon as you turn one of them away, you'll have a dozen fall in behind them because now you've changed the dynamic. A limited inventory changes everything, and as hard as it is sometimes to do, because did I not? We had to have like an internal meeting where everybody put your big boy pants on and your girl pants. Everybody get your thick skin ready because we're going to take some shit for this. But it is necessary because I firmly believe the buzz would not be as significant as it is if people didn't know who was coming and there weren't significant people left out, because there are people that deserve to be there 100% that we did not invite. And it's nothing personal. It's the cost of doing business for us at this point in time. We knew in order to shine as bright of a light on pro modified drag racing as we wanted to, and to put this class on the pedestal that I personally believe it deserves to be on as the universal language of drag racing, we had to do it. I had to exclude some people, and it's tough. It is a really, really, really tough thing. And I've had a handful of really uncomfortable conversations over the course of the last couple months, but I stand by it. It has changed everything. I don't have any conversations about the payout. Nobody asks me about 100,000. Nobody asks me about anything. Nobody talks to me about CBS. Nobody talks all these amazing things that are happening, but everybody is laser focused on who got invited and who didn't. So I stand by it. It worked. I'm very, and that will forever be the case. And I've even
they can earn their way in, I mean, they just, next year.
And some of these things are developing, right?
Yes.
JT has kind of spearheaded this because of his background in golf. He looked at the Masters, the major golf tournament, and said, hey, there's a lot of different ways to qualify for that tournament. Let's apply some of that thought process to World Series of Pro Mod, and we're fleshing it out. I mean, we've already made it known that if you win any of the major Pro Modified Drag Racing Series World Championship, you're automatically get invited, right? I mean, it goes without saying. We've talked about, if you win a couple of specific events, we added the NHRA US Nationals to that list. If you win that race, you're automatically invited for the next year. So there's all these little nuances, and I hope there's some young guys that got excluded in 2023, and I hope they understand that it's just, we have some people that are on the tail end of their careers that we needed to make sure got their moment in the sun. And you will get your chance, right?
It's no different than the 30 under 30 thing. I think as soon as you got that off your back and all the people complaining about that, then you got this. But that just goes to show you guys, and I'll pad you guys, like how you're moving the sport. If you didn't have people up your ass, dare to say the least, I mean, then nobody would care. And so you guys are moving the needle.
I just blame it on Mike and Wes.
Yeah,
people hit me up like, oh yeah, man, those guys.
JT's everybody's friend. That's why.
yeah. I didn't have nothing to do with that. Go talk to Mike over there.
Yeah.
And Mike's looking at me like, what the hell?
What did you expect, Mike?
Before we cut you loose,
I'm
Courtney, a couple of things here. Question in the comments: why Bradenton? And I think that this is a conversation that the four of us can have.
Scott Malpass, you know that he's coming. Scott's coming with bells on.
Yeah, absolutely. But Bradenton is what I'm excited about, and we can talk about this a little bit with our next guest that's going to join us in just a few minutes, a living legend in Rickie Smith. But I wanted this event to go down somewhere where there were no excuses. World-class racing facility, great geographical part of the country, makes sense, easy to get to, great weather conditions. I didn't want there to be anything for someone to say, oh, I can't make it. My car won't run at altitude, or, oh, I don't run quarter mile. I think by going 8th mile and going to Bradenton, Florida, we have the barrier to entry is very low, right? There's no excuse. There's no reason. There's no justification, in my opinion, for not coming and being a part of it if you have the opportunity to do so. You've seen the fan following and the community that exists around Bradenton, Courtney, a handful of times. You were at the Snowbirds. What do you make? They've got a really intense local fan base as well. Agreed?
They do, man. I even went last year for Flow. I worked at the Florida No Time race with Troy Perez and all that. And I was shocked. Like, I'm not downplaying it by any means, but I don't follow it because I need numbers and it's confusing and I need to know that. But it's insane. Like they had that place packed, and Victor has, again, I'm going to get kudos at Flow here, but he's created a tribe as well. And, he's in charge of the front wheel drive stuff and getting those people out there to where they not only watch the racing, but if you go stand up in the grandstands, they're spewing dollar bills. They're talking, they have like cliques of people who are camping out in the beds of their truck. Like, it's just a really, really cool community. And I think that another perk of having it there is knowing that Victor, not only the track, the facility, the people, all the upgrades that he's made to accommodate and be able to hold what he's trying to build there, just again moving the needle and showing promise. And Victor's one of my favorites across the country, so it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, we've had meetings with Victor there. And he said goal number one is to make sure that every customer is a repeat customer. We don't want anyone leaving this event disappointed in any aspect of it. And so he's willing to make that investment, from the things you do see, like the upgrades to the track, to the things you don't see when it comes to staffing and concessions and things like that. So it is cool to work with a guy like that. And it's just, I think it works both ways. Talking about the fan base, Victor has a lot of races down there. I mean, he's got 3 big pro mod races now, and you have to have a dedicated fan base to support that. So I think it's a two-way street. He knows that he takes care of his dedicated fan base, and they're going to take care of him with this plethora of events that he has. So it's a really cool deal.
He's a racer.
Yeah.
I think we're learning that through as we do all of this stuff, is it takes somebody who's either a racer or been a part of it on the backside, and you can't just have a bunch of suits making stuff happen. This is racers. Sorry, Jackson wanted to say hi. Racers helping racers.
I agree 100%. And Vic has done an incredible job with that place. She's fine. I mean, again, I talked about this a little bit on Joe Costello's show, but what Victor has done, the investment, I mean, it is tough, right? Pouring all that concrete, 1,000 feet of concrete, brand new aluminum grandstands. I mean, he's doing big things, and that needs to be rewarded. And I also think Bradenton has this, it's like got a little bit of honky tonk to it. It's like this perfect mix size wise of like a national event facility, but it's also got that Saturday night drag strip vibe where the smoke lingers a little bit and there's some power lines that are drooping a little bit. I mean, and it's, it's got that feel. And I personally think it's just a great fit for pro modified drag, the biggest pro mod drag race in the history of the known universe. Almost has to happen.
Great wing place down the road too.
Is there?
Remember that?
Yeah,
and Sarasota's just a cool town, so I would stay there.
What was that place? They had like their own beer steins.
Yeah.
You guys thought that was a great wing place?
Victor told us
the wings were awesome.
Really?
You didn't eat wings. Wes doesn't eat wings. He eats adult chicken nuggets.
Yeah,
he eats adult chicken nuggets.
Yeah, which aren't the same.
Bro, I ain't trying to take a bath after every meal.
I'm taking a bath in my meal.
Yeah, you are. JT's covered in buffalo sauce. Looking at me,
he's like the Joker.
That's I'm living good, baby. I got a beer stein and look up, and my face is just covered in buffalo.
Shout out to whatever this restaurant is called. You actually leave your beer stein there, and you hang it. There's shelves on the wall, and you go put your beer stein up there. They wash it for you and all that, and you have your own dedicated spot. Maybe, but you show up like JT shows up and his beer stein's clean over there on the wall, and he goes and gets it and takes it up to the thing. And
we saw somebody do that.
Pretty cool.
We were in, like the membership club. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's wild. Cool. I do have before you guys cut me loose real quick. I want to hit on a few things, and I didn't give you the opportunity to ask me, but I get a lot of feedback. All these shows that I'm doing, and I read the comments and I read your emails, and I am not FloRacing customer service, but I am an avenue to it. And I do want to say, as I've preached before, that they have invested so hard in drag racing this year, where they've just been afloat. Learning the industry and learning our little niche of motorsports is tough for people who don't do business in drag racing. But I can say we are doing business in drag racing now, and a lot of things within the stream that we're working on, new graphics, even pre-shows, having floating cameras to do the chip draw and things of that sort. The World Series of Pro Mod is going to be that next step of what FloRacing can actually do inside the drag racing community. And that doesn't take away anything we're going to do at the US Street Nationals this weekend, because we're trying to step up every time that we do it. So you guys just keep an eye and watch those little things. And it just takes so much. I never knew how much it took to not only stream an event live in a place like this, but just to take this and make something live with so much downtime into an actual show. And without spilling a bunch of beans, Wes, Mike, you guys know we are going to debut some really, really cool new stuff with the World Series of Pro Mod. So that was my little FloRacing fluff there.
Well,
I was going to ask you what kind of new stuff can we expect during this event, but I didn't know if you wanted to tip your hat at all.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we're working on, obviously the biggest struggle with drag racing is the downtime, right? We've got tractors on the ground. We're doing a lot of stuff where we're putting y'all show on there. We're going to put my show on there. Anything Victor does, if we're at a track of Victor's, we're going to clip that, put it on there. Jay Cox talked about Bradenton in the show last week, so I clipped that. That's going to go. Step one was filling that. Now we're working on getting graphics on the screen, helping people know where we're at in the schedule, maybe even some ladders. We're going to be doing some driver bios, like a PDRA. I think we're going to be doing a little mock media day kind of thing, so that there's stuff to bring into making it like an actual show where you've got, who's on the track. You don't have to, I missed what the announcer said. How do I know what's going on? What class is next? So we do take feedback and all that stuff, but I'm a racer. I'm a consumer of this product. And so I think that was very important of who they put in this position, because I know what I didn't like about it when I streamed it. Like, I had issues with it. And obviously the circle of death, everybody talks about, like, we're fighting environmental issues that you can't even imagine how difficult that is, running cable 1,320 feet, that kind of stuff. But we're to the point now where we're making those big moves and being able to, we're going to follow Wes around during the chip draw and have that in your face action live coming at you, so that you feel like you're watching a show and you're there and not just sitting up on the scaffold watching the path. So a lot of good stuff to come, and they are working hard and spending a lot of money.
Well, thank you. Seriously, on behalf of all of us here at Drag Illustrated and the World Series of Pro Mod, we appreciate you, Courtney, and the whole team at FloRacing. Guys, let's give it up. Courtney
Enders, guys.
FloRacing, official partner of the World Series of Pro Mod. Thanks for being here.
Thanks guys. Tell Rickie hi.
I will. Guys, before we bring on our next guest, a real living legend, someone I'm very excited to talk to, who's he deserves every accolade he gets, and I'm glad we're going to get to spend a little time with him. I do want to remind each and every one of you that every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seat belts to fire suits, gloves, and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell those guys we sent you. All right, it's time, friends.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we're 9 minutes behind schedule. My apologies. Let's give it up for the man, the myth, the legend, Tricky Rickie Smith.
Rickie.
What's up, Rickie? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, just watching y'all talk junk.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. How's
man, look
your
at all that
off-season
hardware.
been? Yeah,
look
man,
at all the hardware
those
back
trophies.
there, man. Having to show off with the backdrop here.
Look at
There
that.
you go.
Yep.
Yeah, look at all that.
Look at all that.
Man, Rickie, tell us.
In the last 7-8 years.
He's probably got a warehouse full of the rest of it.
I got a basement full of trophy cases in my house and all, and hey, I'm proud of it. And what I say, I'm proud of it.
You should be. Did you ever think 40 years ago that this would be the case, that you'd still be at it? I told someone the other day, and they're like, "Oh, Rickie this, Rickie that," and I said, "Listen, how many people in the sport of drag racing have been doing it for a living for 4 decades? He's one of one, right? I mean, you got to listen to what the man has to say. You'll probably learn something. I mean, did you ever think 40 years ago, Rickie, when you started out hot rodding, that this would be the case?
Absolutely not. I actually started 49 years ago, racing East Bend and Farmington. And my whole goal was to outrun Mike Bowles. I wanted to outrun that good old Charlie Brown wagon. He was badass back then. And that's where I started. And I just kept, in high school, I didn't like getting beat in wrestling or football. I was athlete of the year my senior year and just stuff like that. I don't like to lose. And it just kept escalating. And the next thing I know, I got some sponsorship. And then I get Ford involved with me. And this thing just rolled on, and I had no idea. This year, actually coming up, Wes, will be my 41st year of doing it for a living. I mean, I'm not down on anybody. I mean, really, and I'm way out of the ballpark from John Force. Okay, let's get that straight to start with. But other than John Force, I don't know any. The Snake didn't do it 40 years. I mean, you name all these people out there, they didn't do it 40 years. I've been blessed by God to do this for 40 years and do it for a living. I don't have another sponsor behind me, so I've had some really good relationships, and that's what I'm on right now. I'm on a relationship from 1988 and 89 with Parkway Ford and stuff. That's the reason I'm capable of racing right now, because of the relationships through my major sponsorships I've had over the years, and it's just unreal right now. I'm excited about coming racing down there, and I've been trying to help Scott Palmer some fix his old car up, and stuff. And I'm just, I'm just trying to help people.
What do you point to as far as what has been the driving force? I mean, it's you. I mean, you said it in high school. You didn't like to lose. You wanted to win. But is there anything that you can point to? Is it good people? Is it faith? I mean, because there's had to be some things like beyond your control that have fallen into place over nearly 50 years. I mean, that's incredible. 41 years of drag racing for a living, Rickie. I mean, it's almost weird to say that out loud. I mean, is there anything that you could tell a young guy that's trying to be the next Rickie Smith?
Well, first of all, been married 50 years. That's the backbone to me. And I think everybody knows that. But, it's hell, talk about this stuff and not get emotional, Wes, because, it comes from here. I worked hard to get where I got. I was a bulldozer driver before I started this stuff. And you know, when you really work at this stuff and it comes from hard work, it's hard not to break down. I mean, I watch people now that laugh about me over the years about getting emotional in my stuff. But I see Todd Tedero tonight. I go to his banquet thing, and he gets emotional. And I'm sitting there I'm almost laughing at myself because I said, man, you people now are seeing what I went through up until now and 40 years ago when I was winning, how much you really appreciate it if you work for it. And if you don't work for it and it's given to you, you probably don't get emotional. But when you work for it, like some of us have, and Tedero and a bunch of other people, man, you it's hard not to get emotional because you know how hard you worked at. And, you know, I've had good people. It's all about surrounding yourself with the right people. And like I say, to start with, my wife. Second is I got Ronnie Wilson, a guy that worked with me for 9 years, I think. He come on board and he didn't know a spark plug from a broom handle. And he'd tell you that. He was just sweeping floors. And he finally, when he quit me, went to work with Charlie, and then he went to work. He's still at work at Hendricks Motorsports down there, the round track. Wow. But then I surrounded myself with Charlie Buck. I moved Charlie from Virginia, from Sonny Leonard's to my shop, built a complete, I didn't have a piece of machinery at all. I just had a shop to put my cars in. I built onto that shop, built a complete machine shop, dyno, everything, and brought Charlie in to run the thing. And we built our own engines for, 8 years, won a lot of championships, doing our own engine work, And then we kind of got down on some sponsorship in the mid-90s, and I kept crew chief and kept my stuff. And Charlie went on, and you see where Charlie is now. Charlie went on to his deal, and his business. And, me and Charlie talk about it, and I don't know what Charlie would be where, and I'm not taking credit for what he's done at his business, but I sparked a light in Charlie that made him realize he could leave somewhere and be successful. And when I brought him from Sonny and showed him how successful we could get, then he took that and started his own business. So I'm a little bit of credit, I think, for him to get.
You're the catalyst. It has to happen. Somebody has to do it. I have people in my life.
If I hadn't done that for him back in, he probably wouldn't have had the courage to go make this next big step, And then I had his brother, and then I had a couple other guys, and a lot of local guys helped me, back in the day. But then Chad come along, and me and Chad's been together for 13 years, and he's moving back home. And I don't think I'm going to have him next year. I don't know 100%. So I've got to work another deal. I got to work another magic trick to get through next year.
We should start an online petition, everybody, for Chad to stick it out. We need a couple months for our old boy Rickie. Everybody needs a Chad Hester. We all know, and for those that don't know, and Rickie, I'd love for you to kind of back me up on this. Encourage these young folks out there, teach them things, show them how to do things, because perhaps the most scarce resource that exists in our sport right now, it ain't parts. It ain't race fuel. It's good help. And we need more of them. We've got living legends like Rickie Smith here looking for help, so hopefully Chad will stick it out for a couple more seasons. But do you agree that we got to get some more young folks in here?
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, I've asked Chad for 10 weeks. That's all I want him to do. 10 weeks. And I've offered him really, really good money to work 10 weeks for me. That's the 10 races I'm going to run. 8 PDRLs, 2 NHRAs. Just give me that. I kind of asked him I actually told him when we talked a couple weeks ago, Chad, I'm not asking you as an employer. I'm asking you as a friend to give me 10 weeks of your time out of 52 weeks, And we're supposed to talk again tomorrow, and I hope he can. He had surgery on his elbow, and his health's a little bit down, and stuff like that, and so we'll just see, either way, like I told Chad, I love him. He's kin, kind of. I took him in his family, and it's just it ain't been a working relationship. It's been a friendship between me and Chad. So I don't know. I hope he stays, but if he don't, I can't stop. I've never stopped. I'm not going to stop. And I've told Russell Miller this. I told you I'd race. I already took some money from him. We're going to race. I said, you might have to send Tyler up here and drive the motorhome because we had to carry 2 trailers. We can't carry all the parts in one trailer when we run 2 cars. I said, you may have to send Tyler up here to drive the motorhome, the other trailer, but we're going to race. Trust me. and we are. And Russell's kind of like me. He's a go-getter. Russell didn't get what he by not being a go-getter. So we're going to do what it takes to race next year, and cut back and run all over the country. And Russell wanted to run PDRA because it's more local for him. They can get away from the company and go run them races, So that's been a good deal. It won't, the travel time won't be as much. So,
is that exciting to you? I mean, all the success you've had in NHRA, and I don't, people have to recognize that NHRA is drag racing's major leagues. No matter how you feel about it, no matter what stone you want to throw, they are the big leagues. And I'm just curious, is it kind of nice for you? You've done all that you could possibly want to do, perhaps, in the NHRA. You're the winningest NHRA Pro Mod driver of all time. Incredible level of success. Is it kind of nice to maybe do something that's going to be a little less parking on Monday and dealing with all the bureaucracy and the politics of NHRA?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you say, I love the IHRA days. I love the NHRA stuff. I've run over a lot. I've supported the NHRA for 15, 18 years, and Wes, I'm out of the bull crap. They can do what they want to with the rules. I've been in nitrous cars supporting them from day one. I'm tired of running from behind. I've told them that. And I'm just not going to do it no more. Not all year. I want to be competitive. And the PDL thing is going to be a tough nut for me because I'm a little bit heavy. I'm going to probably give up 25 pounds to some of them guys, 20 pounds, and that's a good 100 and a half. And, but I've tested and I really wish that, if Chad hadn't kind of got down and all, I'd have tested another time or two. I'd probably be down there this weekend at that U.S. Street Nationals running just to get ready for your race. But I don't have no help right now, so you don't know how hard it is for me to sit here and not race.
Hey, Rickie, me and Wes will jump in there.
I was just getting ready to say, I guess if you want to go, get the shit in the trailer.
You ain't got a clue how hard it is for me to sit here this week and not go that down there and try to use it as a test session leading up to your race on the same racetrack. But I can't, so I'm just biting my tongue and going to get ready and do the best I can. But I've always – I won championships in NHRA. I won a bunch in IHRA. I won the PDL championship in 2015. The only time I've ever run all year with them. I won the championship that year. First time I ever run automatic in my car. I'm always a clutch guy. And I'm looking forward to going back over and running with them guys. They're badass racers. Don't think it ain't nobody in PDL a badass racer. They just as good a drivers as NHRA. It's just they don't have that budget to go over and run NHRA, It ain't nothing about the quality of people, the drivers that's over there. And they're running them cars harder than we run them in NHRA. So
Rickie, speaking of badasses and the people you've raced over your career, I've always wondered who are some of the toughest competitors that you race, whether that's back in the IHRA days, NHRA, PDRA, everything that you've done. Let's just talk specifically about Pro Mod. Who did you not want to see lined up next to you?
Good question.
Well, the first thing I got to do is give credit to when I started, and I know we're going to talk Pro Modified, but the two baddest men I ever raced in where was Warren Johnson and Bob Glidden, hands down. They worked on their own shit. They knew what their stuff was doing. Nobody made the calls for them. They made their own calls. They drove their own truck, and they were bad. They were hard to beat, especially with a low budget like I was. They've been great. They were my leaders, But when you talk about Pro Modified, golly, man.
Because you've really raced against everyone all the big names that have been out there. You're one of the few that's been out there through all these different eras and raced against some of the legends and some of the guys, the newcomers that are out there now. So who's tough? Maybe just from a driver standpoint or tuning or consistency, who do you, especially on race day when you're getting down in the later rounds, who do you not want to see? Because most people don't want to see you. over there in the lane. I know that.
I'm telling you, I know so many people.
That's most people's answer. If we were asking anybody else, is they don't want to see you. So who do you really not want to see over there?
Back, in the middle of this deal, I had to say Troy Coughlin back in. Okay. Troy was bad. He was good with that damn turbo car, even though he was fast. Troy was not a guy that was going to give races away. He didn't do a lot of red light, and that's what I don't do. And I knew when I go up there, unless I could trick Troy into doing a staging battle with me, and I get that damn old transmission so hot in that thing, it'd slow down about 1,000 foot, and I'd just drive on out. And he'd do it every now and then because me and him we had good times, and I'd get that thing so hot it'd be on fire when it got to the other end. And that's what I used to talk about over there. I called it a snowball, and I was talking about the transmission. But I said, I'm going to burn that snowball down over there. That's what I was talking about. And every now and then he'd fall for it. And he'd go up there and do that staging line battle. And I'd just grinning like hell because I knew when I got that transmission hot in that turbo car, he was done. So Troy was tough. He didn't make a lot of mistakes, And I say in the era now, what I call the last 4 or 5 years, man, oh man, that's a hard question because there's so many that is good, Yeah.
Do you think that that's one of the things that's changed the most? Because I remember when I first started going or really paying attention to all the NHRA Pro Mod stuff specifically, and this would have been, I don't know, in 2000, mid 2000s, right? 2006, 7, 8. I'm really focused on it, paying attention, going to a lot of the races. We're getting the magazine off the ground. We've went from a time when, there was only a handful of cars that would make a full pole back then, right? It was shaking tires and taking out cones and tearing stuff up. Now, in this day and age, everybody's stuff's going to the stripe under power. Right. Don't you think that's one of the biggest differences is just pro mod racing as a whole
and automatic transmissions, all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. My whole deal through my career was going up and down the racetrack, being consistent. I wasn't always the fastest car, but I was going up and down, and that's where I won a lot of my races and championships. And now you got a lot of these cars that a lot of them got traction control on them. I wish that was all outlawed like crazy. I wish there was no traction control. The guy had to make his own car. That's what I hate about the thing, but it is, and what it is, But, getting back to it, I would have to say, because he don't make mistakes either much, and stuff. I would have to say Stevie is probably somebody, and you'd have to throw Todd Teterow in there if Todd run NHRA all the time, but Todd don't run over there. So I got to talk about the people that I run in the last 7, 8 years when you asked me that question, and I've been running NHRA. So in that bracket, I got to say Stevie was the man to beat and consistent. And he didn't make stupid mistakes, and Stevie was, when you went up there that I had to go the other end, and me and him's had some good races, and we've had some good times. We had some good talks over in Bahrain or Qatar. We went over there in Bahrain and all that stuff, we're gonna talk our junk, and all, but I think I respect him, and I think he respects me.
Yep.
What do you make? Do you think we'll ever see NHRA, just talking specifically about NHRA and quarter mile racing? Today, I've had a dozen questions, it seems, about why we chose to do 8th mile for the World Series of Pro Mod. And I'm just curious, do you think that can that deal be tightened up in the NHRA? Can they make, is it, or do we got to slow the whole thing down a little bit? Because my opinion is that all of it's gotten too fast. Right. But do you think quarter mile racing, Brett Kepner asked me that yesterday, or we were texting, and he said he talked to you on Sunday, and that maybe there may not, I don't know what the answer is for quarter mile.
Right. I don't see a problem having us pretty competitive in quarter mile, and quarter mile can be fine. Like you say, it's not going to hurt to slow us down a few hundreds, okay, and a couple mile an hour. That's a fat guy sitting in the stands watches a car run 560. 68, let's say, hell of a run for NHRA, and a guy goes over and runs 573. If I'm sitting in the stands, if I can tell you the difference between them two cars, 500s, bullshit. They ain't happening. So a guy sitting in the stands, well, that car runs 568 or runs 573. As long as you got two cars going down through there within 4 or 5 feet of each other, it don't matter, you know. It don't matter. We're all going to run 250 or something, so that's big numbers. These cars don't need to be out there running 260. So, you know, this deal, and I don't know what the deal is over there. I mean, got my ideas, and that's my ideas, and I'll keep my mouth shut about it. But, you know, you can have these power additives running within 200ths of each other most of the time if they just do right. But for whatever reason, they don't, you know, and that's the reason I decided I've had enough. When I went this year, and Stevie Jackson has said this in a meeting, and he's got to tell you the truth if he'll talk to you and tell you the truth. He said this in a meeting. When it comes Indy, Norwalk, time right in there, when it's 90 degrees outside and the weather's 110, 120 grams of water, that nitrous car should be able to qualify number one. I don't care if it ain't but 100, 5,000 or something, it should be able to qualify number one. Well, when we get in that kind of air, I'm still 200 down. So how am I going to run with them guys when we get back at the first 2 or 3 races a year or get into the end of the 2 or 3 races a year? They outrun me 400 or 500. So give me a chance, or a nitrous car a chance to go blow his horn and be happy as hell to go. They wore Chad out more than me, because you're not going to wear me out too far unless you knock me out. But they have wore Chad out from us testing and me trying to get him excited about going and testing, because it don't matter what we do, within 48 hours, they've always knocked me down. Period. It's out there. I'm not telling no lie. It's on record. Y'all know that. They've knocked me down within 48 hours of every time I run good 2 races in a row. Period. And they let the blower cars run for all year long, outrunning me. You know, just treat the nitrous car with a little respect, you know, whether it's me or somebody else. And you got to talk about me, because I'm going to want to support it for 12 years like that. So,
and I think, I mean, and you've got a extremely strong fan base, Rickie, and I'm curious your perspective on this. Nitrous cars are an important part of this, what the magic of Pro Mod. If this becomes all screw blown door cars, I mean, we may as well go top alcohol funny car racing,
that's
right?
Exactly what I talked to you about when we talked. I said, Wes, this is something that you need to think about, and all you people like Tommy Franklin or NHRA or whatever putting on these races. And I'm not bad mouthing. I started off in sportsman racing, okay? So I'm not bad mouthing.
I hope he answers that.
I'm unplug that thing.
Okay.
I'm not bad mouthing alcohol funny cars, okay? But if you put on a show like this right now with alcohol funny car deal, you ain't piling no fans in there. You ain't piling no place. You're not going to do with that what you're doing with Pro Modified, okay? So if you just have all blower cars, if this thing just turns, when I say blower cars, I'm talking about turbo, pro charger, screw charger, roof blower. When I say blower, I'm talking about all those combinations, okay? If you just had blower cars only in another 2 years, what's the deal? All you got's an alcohol funny car out there with doors on it. That nitrous car still makes that mix. It still makes that mix up. And if you don't have that mix up, I think you're going to hurt this class 2 years down the road and farther.
Do you think the 8th mile helps with that, Rickie? Do you think the 8th mile is a little bit of an equalizer between all these combos?
It is, but you can still make it just like quarter mile. You can still make it competitive. The Pro Charger are going, and the blower cars are going to outrun us basically 200s and 60 foot, 1.5 to 2. Okay, I don't care if it's NHRA or PDRA. If you go look, the blower cars are going to outrun the nitrous cars 1.5 to 200s and 60 on average. So then the nitrous car gets to run a little better speed, so he runs 100 better in the back half. So now you've kind of made who makes the best call between 60 foot and 1,000 foot. You end up kind of close to even, and the nitrous car gets to make his 60-foot run the last 200 feet, where you know to catch back up. And that's all. It's simple math to figure this out. That's what's not so not so hard to figure out here, guys. You know, You got to let one car run a little faster down on the other end because he's slower here. And it's simple to do. But you got to figure the weather involved. Okay. So in the middle of the summer, you got 4 or 5 races. It's really hot. That's when the nitrous car should be able to shine a little bit. I'm not asking for 200. I'm not asking for 300. I'm just asking to be right there. If I make a good run like I have before and be number 1 qualifier by 100 or 5,000. That's all. And knowing when we get into good weather, they still going to outrun me 200 or 300. Okay, I can live with that. But give the nitrous car 3 or 4 races to go shine at. And then it all depends on who can put the best program together all year long. And that's the way it should be. It's easy to fix, but they can't fix it.
But it seems like a problem that's been going on forever. Because I remember this same thing happening in the IHRA days. And I think that's kind of what ran everybody off and what allowed the ADRL to start up and start running 8th mile nitrous separated from blowers. And because IHRA was unwilling to let the nitrous cars run out front or make a rule change to bring the blowers back to where the nitrous cars were, which is kind of what we're trying to do with our race, Rickie, to be honest with you. We're obviously big nitrous advocates, and we feel that everything could slow down a couple of numbers and still put on a good show, because it's not about the numbers. Racers want to make good runs. The fans want to see impressive numbers, but at the same time, they want to see good racing, like you said. And that's what we want. That's what we're trying to do with this race. And that's, to me, what has been lost. That's kind of a lost art in drag racing these days.
That's exactly what I'm to IHRA. Yeah. The dead proof is IHRA.
Yeah.
When they fixed the nitrous car where it couldn't run and be competitive and depended their program on the blower car, what happened to it? It went away. They couldn't get 16 cars to show up. They couldn't hardly get 8 cars to show up in IHRA days. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't be careful, everybody just don't want to see a blower car run. You got people who want to see a nitrous car run, so
it gives you the storyline.
You got to have the mix of it.
You got to have the storyline. Like for us in the media and on the promotion side of things, I use pro wrestling examples and analogies all the time, but it's your black hats and your white hats. I mean, it's a way for people to latch on to something, to pick sides, if you will. And a lot of times, some of the racers that we have, we're blessed. We've got a great racer base, like specifically for the World Series of Pro Mod, people that are willing to kind of say what they think, guys like you, Jay Cox, Stevie Jackson, the list goes on. But when you have some of these guys that aren't super outspoken, that are a little quiet, you can still let them kind of lump in with a group. You got your nitrous guys, your turbo guys, your blower guys. It's really important. I mean, look at NHRA Pro Stock. As healthy as that class is right now, it is a little tough and challenging promotion-wise because it's basically red team versus blue team. You know what I mean? There's all the elite cars and all the KB cars. And what I like about Pro Mod is we've got all these independent teams. We got multi-car teams, but there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. You know what I mean? And that's what's important about it. And if we let that go away, especially if we do it just to set world records. Right. Because I've had a lot of people go, why are you putting weight on everybody? Well, because all this shit's too fast. We need to slow it down because we want to be doing this 10 years from now. Right. And I think that mid 360s, as crazy as this is to say out loud, I mean, it's insane, but that is a manageable performance. Right. There's a lot of people that can run that number, and you can do it without having to run the rods out of your shit. And you know what I mean? And that's important too, because not everybody, I mean, guys like you don't even have a crew guy right now. And a lot of these people are running on volunteer crews, limited budgets. I mean, we can't build this thing.
You can't keep bringing them volunteer crew and expect them to pull them heads off and pan off 2 or 3 times a day. That volunteer crew is going to say, screw you.
Yeah, they ain't volunteering no more after that. One and done.
Right.
Everybody that's ever went racing with my dad, I always laugh. I'll be like, hey, is Joe Bob coming with us racing this way? No, he's never coming again. He said he didn't want to work there. He's never coming again. Then we get Gary. Oh, Gary's going to come help us this weekend. He goes one race, never see him again. Right. He stops buying gas at my dad's shop because he doesn't want to have to see us. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm never going drag. This is hard. And you're right. I mean, you got to have the right people. But I also think we got to know Pro Mod goes through a little bit of like an identity crisis sometimes. Danny Rowe used to say this to me all the time. I would be bitching and moaning. And this is when Danny was running the Real Pro Mod Association. And I think Danny did he did a lot of good for this class. And I think the class misses a guy like Danny right now. But Danny would always I would be bitching and moaning about how NHRA needs to put Pro Mod on TV, blah, blah, blah. We need to do, I was saying, we need to be on the stage. We need to race for a Wally, blah, blah, blah. And he'd always say, Wes, be careful what you wish for, because that's a double-edged sword. Right. He goes, because the moment we get on TV, the moment we're racing for a Wally, the moment the money gets right, all of these that's when the Alanabis show up and all these big money guys that'll run all of us, that are spending good money, right. You know what I mean? But we don't want to do that. It'll run all of us off. And he goes, it'll guys like me, you know what I mean, who want to race 10 times a year or whatever, we're screwed. Because he was right.
Pro Modified started out as the good old boys.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of rednecks running stupid fast cars, running them all over the track and wrecking them. Okay. That's what brought this thing to where it's at now. And when you get so much sophisticated in there and so much money in there, and you get these cars where they don't go all over the track and they ain't doing some crazy stuff, it's going to take away from it. I hate to say it. I don't want to wreck my car at all. But when you get all these cars on traction control and all this shit, they're just going up down the racetrack every run. Damn, what you got? You got a pro
Amen.
stock car.
That's what we preach that all the time.
That's all you got. You got a fast pro stock car. So I mean, that ain't what Pro Modified's about, and that's the reason I just wish that the traction control thing would really figure out some way to make it go away and make everybody make their own calls.
How prevalent is traction control in like the average run of a top tier 8-mile Pro Mod car?
Probably on a blower car, I bet you 70% of them run it.
And are they leaning on it? Like, is it hitting, whatever they want to say? Is it riding the dots, or is it on a wheel speed map? So it's on a wheel speed map, or right? So or drive shaft speed map.
It's on a motor map.
What, the two, right? That profiler deal.
How fast they want that motor to run up
to accelerate,
and the motor has to follow them dots once they get up.
So like if we go to a PDRA race next week in first round of qualifying, are all the cars riding the dots?
I'm going to say 50% of the blower cars will be riding the dots.
Yeah.
There's not a nitrous car, I think, can ride the dots. We don't have that luxury of that extra horsepower to ride the dot. But 50% of the nitrous cars, blower cars, will be riding the dots down there.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Especially the Pro Chargers. Especially the Pro Chargers. That's where the dots will run the most. Tetero stuff don't run the dots, I can tell you that. Todd makes his calls for all, them cars. They don't run the dots.
Well, I used to have, I think it was Shannon Davis and I would always talk about it, that owns Davis Technologies. And there's a handful of other guys that, you're not going to make your best run riding the traction control, right?
Right. You're not, just like I said, with a nitrous car, when we're trying to do all we can, you're not. But when you got a lot of power, or not a lot, but you got pretty good power to spare, then you can ride the dots.
We say that all the time, that nitrous cars are at their mechanical limit and they've got to make their best run and use everything they've got to compete. Whereas the boosted categories have got so much excess horsepower, right. They have to be electronically limited. And it's just a whole different ballgame between those two things. Most people, I don't think, realize that.
Here's the thing that I don't understand. You're not supposed to, it's NHRA, PDRA, whatever, these outlaws, you do what you want, okay? But in NHRA, you're not supposed to be allowed to run a closed loop. And what I call is let the motor fuel itself. 80% of them cars over there have O2s on them. 80% of them are running off of the deal. Now, they may not run it all the time, but they go in there, and let's say we leave here and go to Vegas right quick. They'll go out there maybe to run it to and run it on that deal and figure out where the O2s and what's going on, see where it's putting fuel in, taking fuel out. Then they may do away with it. But that's
so they go out there and run an open loop where the computer is adjusting to maintain a target air fuel ratio. And then once they've got it established,
right. Yeah. You shouldn't be able to do that. I've run O2s at 2 races in 17, and I took them off the car. I said, this is bullshit. I ain't running this mess. I'm an old school. I look at the plug, I read the plug, And that's the way I tune my car. I take them apart. When I take them apart, I look at the bearings and I look at the pistons. I see which holes is finicky, which holes ain't. I look at all that. I do my tune-up by looking at stuff, and doing it that way. I absolutely do not run O2s. And everybody said, well, why do you run EGTs? I said, well, pretty ironic you asked that question. You must not know too much about what you're doing. That's the way I say it. I mean, I look at myself and think that. I try not to embarrass the guy, but I'm just telling you. I look at it and say, well, there's another guy opened his mouth and he shouldn't have said nothing. But what that is, the reason I run O2s, when you're running for a championship or you're running every round counts, you go out there all of a sudden and the car starts missing. Which hole was missing? I don't know. So I got to change everything. Well, if you go out there and you know which hole's missing, you come back, you check the spark plug wire, you check that plug, you check, and you find it. 95% of the time, you find it right quick. That's the only reason I run EGTs is to tell me if this car has a miss, which hole is misfired. Now I can go look for something right quick and find it. Is it the plug wire? Is it the ignition box? First thing I do is find the hole, then I'll go check the plug wire. If that ain't bad, I look at the plug. If that ain't bad, then I start changing other stuff, but at least it gives you somewhere to look at. It ain't the toggle switch up here, doing it. It's just this hole all the time. It ain't all the holes. It's one hole doing it. So I got to go fix that one hole. At least narrows the stuff down where you can kind of fix it right quick for the next round. That's the reason I run EGTs. And anybody else that kind of knows what's happening should, that's the reason you run them. You don't really tune your car off of them. You just run it to find that miss if you have it.
One of the reasons we brought you on here, and I don't want to cut you loose without getting a chance to talk about it. Marco Philholm in the comments is asking, what's exhaust gas temperature, EGT? That's what it stands for. He's asking what it stands for. But almost all these guys run them on every high-level race car. You'd be surprised if it's got a race pack. Not always, but most of the time, it's going to have the EGT. But anyways, one of the things we brought you on here to talk about, of all the people we could have got you to run, and I threw some ideas your way. We're going to get Rickie Smith versus Todd Tutterow, Rickie Smith versus Jason Scruggs. We're going to get Rickie Smith versus, Stevie Jack. We had all these matchups, but you came to me, and I think this is really cool, and you said, hey, Wes, there's a lot of guys that I could run any weekend, but there's one guy that I may never have a chance to run, and that was Scott Palmer. Take me through this, and I know you and him have kind of made fast friends. You've been helping him a little bit, but, I'm genuinely excited. This feels like we couldn't make this shit up, right? We're going to have a living legend, pro mod great, perhaps the all-time greatest, racing the people's champ himself, Scott Palmer, under the lights Friday night at Bradenton Motorsports Park. How'd this come to be, buddy?
Well, like I say, I got to know him the last year or two in NHRA. Chad went down and hung out with him, at night and stuff. And then I got to going by there, and me and Scott got to talking and just found out he's kind of on my level, And I was helping him with his car, getting stuff done and stuff like that, and we was talking about stuff. And, I got to thinking, like I told you, I can go run Jay Cox. I can go run Todd Tutterow. I can run Jason Scruggs. I can run any of these guys about any time I want to run. Just go where the racetrack is and go run them if I want to run them. But I can't just go to NHRA and tell them, hey, I want to run Scott Palmer this round. Well, that ain't happening. Or somebody, if it'd been somebody. So this is awesome that I'm going to get to run somebody like Scott, a top field driver, a good driver, and I'm going to get to go run him down there Friday night. We're going to get to race each other, and it's a little bragging right and one thing and another. I've tested some, like I said. I hope people out here that going off of what Rickie Smith done when he come to PDRL last 2 or 3 years, okay? Well, if I got anything to say about it, I know I've lost some of my good help, as far as being able to test and find out more. But when I'm going to run your sanctioned body only, I'm going to get serious about it, and I'm going to run a little better. I ain't going to be no duck over there. I ain't going to be no duck. I may not pull the heads off every round and tear this stuff up, but I'm coming back to run for a championship, okay? And I ain't gonna be no duck. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
I love it.
I'm just waiting. That's the same thing. I'm sure that thing, and I may go down there and not run good at your race, But I've tested some. I've got a little faster. The biggest thing it might hurt me down there is I don't run that quite a glued up racetrack. I got to learn that a little better, okay? And I just pray that they don't just get that racetrack like it's a street radio track, you know? I mean,
it won't be. We've got one of the best track prep guys in the world, in my opinion, Wade Rich, and I've made it clear that we've got to. I want a raceable racing surface, you know, because one of the other things is, you know, we're going to be running Mountain Motor Pro Stock cars that are clutch cars that cannot run on those type of tracks. And we can't be in a situation because, you know, I'm a showman. I got to put on a show, and I don't want to be. I've told my guys, if I hear squalling tires for too long, I'm going to be pissed because I don't want a tractor running up and down the racetrack. Right. We got shows. We got a show to put on. We got fans to entertain. So we can't spend tons of time prepping the track. I think that there's a threshold there, Rickie, and I think you support me that the track needs to be good. It needs to be really good, but we don't need to spend hours and hours spraying and dragging and after it.
Spraying. I don't mind running the rotator up and down through there 2 or 3 times right quick on each side. That livens it up, okay? Yep. That don't take long. But when you just keep spraying and spraying and spraying, you get that so much glue on there so thick. That's the reason that, and I got to say one thing, NHRA the last 3 years for daytime racing, hands down, has the best racetrack. Hands down. And the reason is they don't pile all that glue on there when it gets hot. Because you go piling all that glue on there and the sun hits that track at 120 degrees, that glue just gets fucking gooey as hell. You can't do much with it. They keep a track kind of tight and not gooey and not so much glue. And if you know how to race, you can race that track. But when you get a track up there and you go up there and it's pulling your shoes off and it's gooey, what do? How do you read that damn thing? You know, I mean, so that's reading in PDL. You have it. So you see the fast cars over there struggle during the day. You know, half of them won't go down the racetrack during the day because it's just too much glue. You know, if they'll just back off of that a little bit and run the rotator more and let the track come to, you know, during the day, and then at nighttime it's going to tighten up anyway. Maybe hit it a little bit for I
was just going to say, go do a high-speed glue or spray it a little bit, but it don't take much. But you kind of got to have some patience, right, and let it work through the day. I agree wholeheartedly, and that's one of the reasons we don't have a ton of cars coming down to this deal, and we don't have a gazillion different classes because we want to. You know, one thing for me, I want to be done at a good time. You know, I want people. I want to be racing in front of fans. I don't want, you know, people going home and we're still running. You know, that we're still halfway through one of the rounds. I want to be done at a reasonable
your show
time.
Down there, you bring it. This show is pro modified. It's really not pro stock. It's really
nothing
not
else.
Front drive wheel cars. It's not radio. Your show, this is a pro mod show. So prepare that track for big tire cars, not street radios. Not because if you prepare it for us where it ain't too crazy, then the pro stock guys are going to be okay too.
Absolutely.
You go getting that thing crazy for a street radio or a front runner tire car, you're going to screw both of us up, the pro mods and the pro stock cars.
And we're not having any radio cars on the property for that reason.
Right.
You know, for me personally, I just didn't want. I'm going to get in trouble for this, but like race cars have big tires and wheelie bars. Like that's just the way the world is supposed to be. That's how God wants it. And this race is built for that. I'm curious, having done all this, like, is it exciting for you? And we won't keep you too much longer, Rickie. I surely appreciate your time.
I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun.
Is it exciting to see Pro Mod as the show? Because that's what I'm here for. I'm the biggest Pro Modified fan in the world, and I believe guys like you deserve to be the show, not play second fiddle to anybody else, not play second fiddle to Top Fuel or Funny Car or Pro Stock. That's not that. You are World Series of Pro Mod is about Pro Mod. It's about Rickie Smith and Jay Cox and Jim Halsey and Tommy Franklin and Jason Scruggs and Frankie Taylor. You guys deserve a moment in the sun, and I hope you're experiencing that to some extent.
Oh, absolutely. That's what this is, like you say, it's about. And if we wouldn't if Pro Modified wasn't so badass, why you got people like, and I'm not bad enough anybody, you know, Scott Palmer's just tickled to death coming around with us.
Alex Laughlin.
Antron Brown wants to get a car and come on. You got a lot of them fuel guys that want to come and get some of his glory. But really, we don't get to go get their glory in NHRA, so they shouldn't come and get our glory, you know, in a way, you know. So it's good. Scott's, going to do the best he can. He's not got a lot of money behind him. So, but and I'm not badmouthing anybody here now. I know Antron likes me and he bragged on me, and a lot of them other guys over I'm good friends with in the fuel pits and all. But you let that money come in here and it'll kill all of us.
Agreed.
They'll bring some tuners and cars in here that's going to hurt the people that's really promoted Pro Modified for the last 15 years, but it's great. I'm enjoying this crap out of this thing right now, watching stuff. And you see, old people can still draw some people, because when you started that deal, and still right now, I've got the most likes on your deal over, I've got 2.3 or whatever it is. And Scott, he's the next oldest in the province, and he's got 1.6. So me and him's kind of got most of the likes, so that tells me that us old folks still got some people watching us, and that's what makes it exciting about me, to see that, Wes, to know that my career has not been a failure. I'm seeing this, and I'm really appreciating the people that to hit that like button when you chose me, invited me to come. It blew my mind. I know it did you. Man, I was just racking the numbers up. I mean, that thing, the first 4 hours just went nuts, and then Scott kind of done the same thing. So when you start beating people like Stevie and Lyle and some of them people on these likes, it's pretty impressive.
I agree. I told you I told you you're going to be surprised. And for me, it's been exciting because I've had a lot of racers reach out to me and say, man, I've gotten more publicity just by accepting an invite to your race than I have the last 2 or 3 years of racing these other deals. Right. And I said, well, that's what we're here for. Like, that's what I want to create, right? Is an environment where I want you to be able to go sell a sponsorship just to run the World Series of Pro Mod that will then support you throughout the rest of the year. And I think by getting this race on CBS, it's going to happen.
Tickled to death to come to this thing. He's coming down there and going to be hands-on. He's going to help me. And don't think him and Tyler changed the rear end in the car at Virginia twice by themselves. They'll work. They're not somebody that don't work. They work every day. So I told Russell, I said, come on down there and bring your working clothes now. Well, you probably got to do some work. But, he's excited. And my guy, Parkway Ford, Junior Michael, I mean, he asked me, he said, after we'd done our deal and had all this decided we was going to run the PDRA thing and a couple NHRs and all, and then this deal come about. And he saw it, he said, you going to go down and run that race, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, good deal. He said, that thing looks like it's pretty big. I said, yeah, it's going to be a good deal. So it helped me with everything. Like you say, it's good exposure,
And that's what we're here for, man. And that, I think that my goal for this is, and I consider Tommy Franklin and Tyler, those guys, like family. I hold the NMCA team in high regard, Haney and the Midwest guys, John Mazzarana and all the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod guys. I mean, the NHRA crew, Eric Dillard, Marty Wright, everybody that's spearheading that deal, Debbie and the gang at Proline. I want to see all those series and sanctions be successful. And I think that we can create something that feeds those series. I don't want to come out here and compete with them. I'm never going to put a race on top of one of theirs. I'm hand to God. That's not what we're here to do. But a high tide lifts all boats. And if we can get a lot of excitement and enthusiasm around Pro Mod to start the year, every year, hopefully these other sanctions and events will be able to maintain it, and it will all build over time. That's the goal.
Right. I mean, that's, like I say, whether I get out at the end of this year, and more likely I am, I know I've been saying that, but some stuff happened last year. I thought I had my shop sold and it didn't happen. Forget all that. I'm going to run one more year. Russell wants to race, so we're going to race again. But I'll be 70 next year. At Christmas, I'll be ready. It's time to roll out, Wes. I ain't got no problem with that. I am tickled to death to be where I got. I could fall out today and be happy in a way, even though I know I'm still competitive and I still want to race. I've made it this far. I can retire. I think I'm okay on my money situation. I can probably live. I told my wife, I said, the way I budget out and what I've got, I said, I think I can live till I'm 92. Now after that, we're going to be broke. So I said, we just got to whatever. But, this deal here is great to be up for, and I'm still going to get to race and be at this high level, big money race, and stuff. And I know y'all, one thing I want to say, I saw you with the deal with Jay, and he was talking about, you asked him about, who it's going to be some people that can't handle the pressure and can't do this and can't do that. You know, who you think and all this. Well, let me tell you something, Wes. Pressure, I don't even know what that is, okay? Because pressure to me is when you can race as long as I have. Every time I go to the racetrack or go to that starting line on Sunday, every one of them runs, forget the money. It's pressure. Big. It's $100,000 more to me. It's a couple $100,000. It's $300,000. Because here's the deal with me. If I don't win or make rounds and make good showing, I don't get to race. I don't have a company to come to support my deal. So every time I go to a race somewhere or another, I got more than $100,000 pressure on me. So if pressure is going to get somebody, it ain't gonna be my ass. Bring it on.
I needed some Rickie Smith quotes, and my God, you delivered, my friend. Before I let you go, Rickie, don't you feel, you could quit, you could have quit 20 years ago and held your head high. But don't you agree that there's an opportunity? You've got a big, I know you're almost 70 and I'm not trying to put you to work, Rickie, but I believe there are people that would pay big money to have you spearhead their program. I think you can run. I mean, look at what Stevie just put together with Sydney Frigo. I think there's going to be more and more opportunities like that. Does that interest you in like overseeing a team or something like that?
Way, it's just I've always tried to be competitive. I've been serious as crap about this stuff since the day I got in it. I mean, I won my first championship in 1976. Graduated from high school in 72. So I'm competitive, and I'm not going to get hooked up with somebody that may want to pay me real good, but they're not serious. We ain't going in there getting drunk at night and the next day you screw up there. It's hard enough to win when you try to keep yourself mentally right on race day. You can't go up there and just turn the light red by 4 and 500ths or be late, a tenth. Okay. I mean, we can all be 040 or 060, 070 on Sunday. That's very easy to happen. You wasn't late. It's just, man, from 025 to 065, do you realize how what that is? That is absolutely nothing. But on the racetrack, it's like a mile. But so I'm just saying, you can't give stuff away. Is
that something you've struggled with, Rickie? Like, it's like we talk around here that like the yin has to match the yang. You have to find someone that's like equally yoked,
right?
And that, I'm sure it would be hard to find anybody that takes this stuff as seriously as you do.
There's good there's good racers out there, and a lot of you good racers. And I'm not down on anybody, but a lot of you good racers don't have the money to do it right. A lot of the people who's got the money to do it right are not, and there's still some out there serious. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them serious, but it's you got to get the yang to match the yin or whatever you call it. Yeah. I mean, stuff like that. So, hey, my car, I may be getting on up there. And people say, well, he what has he done? I ain't done a lot in outlaw trim. I'll admit that. But when you come to NHRA, even though the way they got the rules, this old boy here can race you. I mean, they say, well, I want to race him. He ain't good on the tree. Really? You better watch what you ask for, like you said, because when I have to race, and you can ask Stevie, I think Stevie's watched me enough to know what's going on. When I have to race you, I can be good when I want to. What people don't realize is the work I do between rounds and your body when you start getting this age, and I think about this. I mean, I ain't perfect shape by no means, Wes. But when you get in that car and it's 90 degrees outside and it's 110 grams of water, damn, before you even get to the starting line, you're soaking wet with that suit on and all. I ain't no young chick no more. I don't know what my heart's doing. Everybody says that my physical and all, I'm in great shape. But when you're putting that kind of, for me to have a good life, okay, that's the reason I don't do much in qualifying. I hadn't really in all my career. But in qualifying, I don't try to cut good lights. I just try to get me a 40, 50, 60. But I'm listening at the car. I'm feeling the car. I'm trying to see what's going on. But For me to pump myself up in the last, say, 8 or 9, 10 years, when I'm backing up, and if I forget this backing up sometimes, and I do, like get back to the damn thing, then I go, gosh damn, then I just going. When I'm backing up, I'm backing up going, I'm back. And I'm doing that when I'm back on race day. And what that's doing, that's getting my blood flowing. That's getting me going. Because when I sit down in these cars, I sit down on like I'm sitting here with you.
Comfortable.
Watching TV at home. I'm just sitting there so relaxed. And reaction time is all about adrenaline and controlling adrenaline. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get myself so damn pumped up, it's stupid. But when you realize what you've done in these runs, you get on the other end and you ask in your heart to do this at this age, it just bothers me sometimes. And that's the reason I'm just watching what I do, Wes. I don't want to have a heart attack in these cars. And I ain't afraid of nobody. Don't get me wrong. I fight you. I fight a monkey. I fight any damn body. Still at my age. You strap me long enough, I'm going to fight you. You may whoop my ass, but I'm going to be on you. Now, I ain't afraid of nobody. And I ain't afraid to die because I believe in the Lord. And I'm going to see my mom and dad one day. But I ain't ready to die yet, not because of stupidity. So I try to watch myself, how hard I work myself on race day. And I've talked to Chad about this, but I have to work myself so hard on Sunday when I'm backing up that I'm almost out of control in that car, breathing and stuff. And I feel like what I'm doing, and maybe I'm doing totally wrong, but to me, it feels like I'm getting myself generated and I'm making myself, my blood flow, and I'm getting myself hyped up in there to run, because I don't care who I'm running, whether I'm running Stevie, Lyle, whoever. That really don't get me hyped up enough. I got to get myself.
You got to do it yourself.
The biggest thing that hypes me up a bunch, and it has all my career, and if you watch, piss me off and see what happens. I'm going to be on your ass. Piss me off. Go back and look at my career. Piss me off. Most people go bananas and they lose it. They red light, they do everything. And Ronnie Wilson will tell you he was with me all through my Glidden years and all that. And Chad's been with me. Piss me off. And you better be ready to get on with it up there. That helps me. They think they're hurting me. God knows they're helping me.
Because I think some of these guys try to play games with you, and I know some guys that used to take their time. They'd wait on you, or they would drag their feet, and I would tell, like, guys, you're playing into this is exactly what he wants you to do, because now he's going to be good and pissed off, and he's probably going to go 0-12 on you, right?
You give me plenty of time to think about it over and get concentrated.
Do you think that there's a strategy? Because I like any opportunity that I have to like mention your name alongside like Michael Jordan or LeBron James. I like to do that because you see these guys when they get to certain points in their career and they've had a lot of success, they know when to lay up and they know when to turn it on. I mean, you'll see fans. LeBron James is notorious for this. Middle of the season, he's not playing defense the way he normally would. Right. But you get into, game 7 of the playoffs and he's like a totally different human being. Like you haven't seen him perform at that level all season. Do you feel that that's kind of what you're tapping into?
That's kind of what I'm tapping into. That's kind of what I'm tapping into my last probably 8 or 10 years, Wes. I mean, it's it.
Know when to turn it on.
And know when to turn it on, and know when to get your body going, and it's just a tough thing to do when you get older. And these guys, God bless them. I mean, whether it's Stevie, Lyle, whoever out there, these young kids. I call them kids. To me, they're kids. I mean, 30 years old or 40, they're kids. But anyway, I hope they live long enough to get 65 or 70 like I have and see what I went through from the time I turned 60 till I turned 70. Well, so I won 3 championships, NHRA championships since I turned 60. 60. Well,
it's unbelievable.
I don't think that somebody like Stevie or Lyle would be driving these cars at 60. And Erica Enders, take her for instance. God bless her, love her to death. She's a badass woman to drive. I wouldn't want to try to match her on reaction time, But Eric Enders ain't gonna be in no pro stock car at 60. Ain't happening. Can you see a 60-year-old woman driving a pro stock car? It ain't happening.
No, I agree. I agree 100%.
Since I turned 60 has been more, to me, almost more amazing than what I've done when I was 20 and 30.
You know, as we sit here and think about it, because that kind of hit me in the stomach, I'm going, well, shit. You know, this guy, yeah, he's accomplished more than most ever will between 60 and 70. Right. It's an unbelievable. Mike and I talk about this all the time. When you have, and I know we need to wrap this up, guys, and I appreciate everybody. We're getting all sorts of great comments, and seriously, on behalf of myself, everybody at Drag Illustrated, and Rickie as well, we appreciate these conversations aren't fun to have without a crowd. And we appreciate everybody tuning in, clicking like, clicking share, clicking subscribe. Thank you guys for being a part of this. But kind of, you know, last little thing here to talk about. Don't you think that that's kind of the magic of, I mean, that's what's part of the beauty of drag racing, is that you can do it and be competitive at nearly 70. I mean, I think that's some of the coolest part of this whole deal is, you know, that you're still at it at 69 years old. And one of the things Mike and I talk about, longevity, that's really what separates Rickie Smith, because there's a lot of big names, you know, a lot of greats that have existed in pro modified. I mean, I think about, you know, Scotty Cannon is a huge fan favorite.
Right.
It has accomplished a ton. I think about Shannon Jenkins. I got excited last week. Shannon called me, and I was just excited to see his name pop up on my phone. He's a hero of mine. But most of these, I mean, the list goes on, right? Guys that have really big careers, but unfortunately, they've gone on to do other things, and you're still out here. I mean, that longevity is really what makes Rickie Smith, I mean, pro mod greatest of all time, man. I mean, I'm here to say.
Well, you know, it's like I told you, from 60 to 70 and what I've done, you know, if you don't like me, you don't like me. That's fine. We all like our own people, okay? That ain't, but just respect what I've been able to do.
Well, God knows, from your mouth to God's ears, brother. I think that the drag racing world holds you in high regard, and I appreciate you.
I may not win another race in my career, and that can very easily happen, okay? Because it's competitive out here, and the money situation, blah, 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 and being able to keep Chad, I know. No, me and Chad don't have to speak, okay? We can run all day long and don't have to speak. We know what each other's doing. When I get in that car, Chad knows exactly what I'm going to be doing. If he sees something that I do different, he knows I'm doing it different for a reason. It ain't because I just broke my routine. If I do something different, it's because I see something going on and I got to do it to make my car get down the track or whatever's going on in the other lane or something like that. You know, we just know each other. So that helps a lot with confidence, you know, in the car. Just being able to know the guy standing on the outside of the car is watching what's going on. He knows if I need something right quick, boom, it's done. But I'm just saying, here I am. Maybe this is my last year. Maybe last year was probably my last year running all the NHRA stuff. But I won a race over last year. My team won two. We won two. Tyler won one and I won one. So that's pretty badass for a team to come over and win two races and have both cars in the finals at the same time, and I tune them both. That ain't never happened.
And to have Tyler have that kind of success right off the bat, I mean, let's be honest, you've put other people in that car and not had those kind of results.
Absolutely.
So that says a lot about the program and Tyler Miller.
Jonathan Gray's won in that car. Jonathan Gray won in my car. Bo Butner. He had never drove a pro mod car. He went to the second race he went to was in the finals at Indy, biggest race of the year. You remember him and Jonathan Gray were in the finals.
It's unbelievable. Well, Rickie, I want to tell you, I'm going to leave you with this. I called you a couple of months ago and told you that I wanted to invite you to the World Series of Pro Mod, and we've had a lot of conversations about this at the magazine, and we couldn't have this race without you. It'd be a sin. It'd be a tragedy, and I just hope you know that we appreciate your belief. I know you got a lot of options. You're set. You can do whatever you want to do, but I want you to know that it's not lost on me. We genuinely appreciate you choosing to come be a part of this because you don't have to. I know that, and it means a lot to me, so thank you.
I'm glad that my health's good enough and I'm still got a car and I'm able to come and run your race. I'm just, you'll see one day if you live this long, how good it's going to be able to still do this at 69 or 70. Whether I win or not, I'm a threat. You can bet your ass of who runs me down there. They know I ain't gonna be no duck. I mean, I don't give a damn if they outrun me 300 or 400. They know they better get up there and get on with it, and get it right. Like I've told Chad, I said, Chad, here's when I'm gonna realize I am a duck. I said, everybody that runs me, and you've watched me for 13 years, every son of a gun, even though it don't matter who they are, whether they're good on the tree or not. Wes, 90% of the time, go back and find everybody's run me. Them son of a guns is 20 or 00 or all, they're just stupid on the tree when they run me. And the next round I go run somebody and they like be 040 or 08. I mean, not even 040. They'd be 080, 060, 070. So I said, when people start being 080 and 112 and all this shit against me, then I know I'm done. I'm a duck.
But you're certainly not a duck right now, Rickie. Man, you're right though.
Ain't nobody giving me the duck so far.
No, you did an interview with one of our guys several years ago, but the title of the story was Racing Out Front, because I think that's a unique, very few people know what it's like to compete when everybody's giving you their best shot. And that's what you're talking about. Everybody goes up against Rickie, and this is the tune-up they've never tried before. This is the right. I mean, they're swinging for the fences every single time, and that's rare air. Not a lot of guys have experienced that.
It's hard to win when they're doing that to you all the time.
I would argue that it's easier to be, and none of this stuff's easy, so no one take offense.
Right.
But the fact is that it's easy to get up when everybody's counting you out. Right. It's easy to get fired up. It's like you see these basketball or football teams, these epic comebacks, because it's hard to maintain a lead. You see a team get way out in front at halftime. It's hard to keep that up. You know what I mean? Because you're going to get a little lazy. You're going to take a couple plays off. Right. And that's when the underdog jumps up and bites you. So you make a fantastic point, Rickie. And well, I don't see you as a duck anytime soon, my friend. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us and everybody watching. Let's give it up for the living legend, the greatest of all time, Tricky Rickie Smith. Mike, JT, get on here. Let's give this guy a round of applause.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, buddy.
You do out here, Wes and Mike.
Hey,
JT, I appreciate all this stuff. I mean, I just love it. I mean, I'm looking forward to going out and having a little fun, and me and old Scott Palmer having our little deal and getting to race each other. And
I think he's excited.
This is probably going to be a little different race for me than I've ever really raced in 40-some years. My attitude going into it. I'm going to go into it. I want to have a little fun. I'm going to be serious. I always have, but I want to enjoy it a little bit,
That'll be cool to see.
Time, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you so
Looking
much,
forward
Rickie.
to it.
We'll talk soon, my friend.
Don't bring too much beer around my trailer.
No, man.
Tough shit.
JT's got some especially for you.
I love everybody.
All right, see you, man.
See you, Rickie.
Thank you, Rickie.
Bye,
We
Rickie.
love you, buddy. Oh my goodness, guys. What a show. Are we lucky to get to do this or what?
Man,
Yeah,
It's almost unbelievable.
Rickie was bringing it today, man. I was trying to write down quotes. Like he pretty much
Craig Cook,
quote
Kayla,
machine.
all my team here, Nate Van Wagenen. I hope
Blake,
everybody took
yep.
notes because we need everything he said was money. I mean, everything he said was gold. So, hey, I want to thank everybody, JT, Mike, of course, for being a part of this, but everybody that tunes in each and every Wednesday, it means the world to us. We really do feel like it's a privilege and an honor, but it's also a responsibility. Somebody has to keep the pot stirred. Somebody's got to keep drag racing in the limelight, and we're proud to be the ones to do it. If you don't know, now you know. World Series of ProMod.com, the biggest 3 days in drag racing, the biggest, richest pro mod drag race in the history of the known universe. March 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2023, Bradenton Motorsports Park. Get your tickets now. I'll tell you what, guys, ticket sales are looking good, Mike. I think you got a little excited this morning when you got the little report, eh?
Yeah, man. I love getting that report every morning.
Right?
Get your VIP tickets like now. I would go do that right now.
Yeah, they gonna go. So, hey guys, thanks everybody. Appreciate the support. Click like, click subscribe, do all your due diligence, and we'll see you next Wednesday right here on the Drag Illustrated Facebook and YouTube channels. Huge shout out to Stroud Safety, Redline Oil, FloRacing, and everybody that supports this endeavor. We appreciate it. Can't do it without you.
Yep. See y'all.
Thanks, man.